So, my high school was pretty corrupt. Many of the teachers in my high school should not have been teachers in the first place. The only reason they were was because they knew either the superintendent or someone in the Board of Education to link them up with a job. They always swept incidents under the rug, too. Half of these stories I'm going to tell you, you're going to be like, how did they not lose their jobs? Oh, because they were protected, and they would do anything to make the students out to be the liars over their precious teachers. My junior year, I had this chemistry teacher whose eyes always seemed to be trying to escape his head. But that's because of all the drugs and alcohol that was in his system. Let's call him Mr. Ollie. Mr. Ollie always brought in a dark thermos that he would chug during classes, making the veins in his neck pulse and his skin turn a bright red. I have a question. You could smell the alcohol floating out of his cup and wafting around the room as he barked about anything but chemistry. He also had huge biceps. Rumor amongst the students was that he did steroids. Now, Mr. Ollie was going through a divorce. He slammed his thermos on his desk, stared at each and every one of us and said, "I want to put my wife through a wood chipper." We all sat in silence as he then punched the chalkboard behind him. "She's such a bitch. You don't know what she put me through." He went on screaming his obscenities while the guy in front of me, he was the one who always liked to challenge Mr. Ollie to piss him off more. Let's call him Bobby, spoke up and said, "This has nothing to do with chemistry." Mr. Ollie's eyes lit up. He walked around his desk, stared over at Bobby, gripping the empty desk in the front row. "No one gives a damn about what you have to say, Bobby." He picks up the desk, anchoring it over his head. The girl in the second row squeals, ducking down in her seat. I jump out of my seat as he throws the desk straight at Bobby, who luckily scrambles out of his desk before the desk comes crashing down on Bobby's empty desk. We all stand there stunned, Bobby and Mr. Ollie's breathing filling the silence of the room. Mr. Ollie walks out for half the period as we all just kinda take our seats again and sit silently, too scared to make a movement. Mr. Ollie comes back, stares at Bobby and says, "Don't piss me off anymore." He then proceeds to tell a story like nothing just happened. "When I was in college, I woke up in a tree once. Must have been the experimental meth me and my roommates were working on. I'm just glad I wasn't naked in the tree. Best trip of my life. Before I met my whole wife." Now this next teacher, let's call her Miss Wexy, hated me with a passion. Mostly because I was a band kid, and God did she not like the band kids. Because we were always pulled out of her class for a practice or a trip of some sort. "Can we please have all marching band students report to the band room immediately?" We would stand up from our desk, Miss Wexy giving us a glare. "Don't even think about it. Sit down." About 5 minutes later, the speaker went off again. "Once again, all marching band students, please report to the band room at this time. Thank you." She shook her head at us as she continued her history reading. We sat there on edge, staring at each other, knowing what was gonna happen in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes passed, and guess what? Up comes our band instructor. "Are you guys deaf? I said band room, now! Come on, let's go!" We slowly slid off our chairs, staring back and forth between the two teachers. "They cannot go. They are in the middle of a history class." "Excuse me?" You could not mess with our band instructor. If he wanted something, he was going to get it. I love and miss him to this day. He went at it with Miss Wexy, motioning us to make a run for it while we can, which we did. You can say Miss Wexy was not happy with us. The next day she slaps papers down in front of only the band students. "Since you guys think tooting away on your horns is more important than your time here in my class, here is a test for you." Oh, and it's on a chapter you didn't learn yet, cause why bother teaching it to you if you aren't going to be here? She gave that wicked smile. I could see my grade physically plummeting like the Titanic in front of me. The one day she calls on my friend Marvin. Marvin, who is my Filipino friend, who doesn't know the answer to her question, sits there nervously, in silence, making awkward laughing sounds that he always does when he's nervous. "Well, are you gonna give me an answer?" "Do you not know English, Ching Ching? Or do I have to speak Ching Chong? Jesus!" My mouth dropped open. Marvin nervously laughs it off, burying his face in his textbook. I knew Miss Wexie wasn't the sweetest jelly bean in the box, but did she really just say that? And yeah, she was still around after this was reported too. Crazy. This next teacher I had didn't do anything to me, but she was always a nervous wreck. Let's call her Miss Honey. Miss Honey would always shift around at her desk, swaying from left to right like she was on a boat. I'm on a boat! You would then hear these weird sounds coming from her desk, like she was playing with a bunch of Legos in her drawer. But then you would see her hands all shaky, bringing her closed-up fist to her lips. She'd gulp down water, her swaying would stop, and the shifting of the Legos halted. She sat there, spaced out like she was in a totally different world. The one day she left her Lego drawer open, where she had a whole bunch of pill bottles where she scratched the labels off of them. I do not know what was in those pill bottles, but it made her totally unresponsive for the rest of class after she would skittishly read her way through some Macbeth stories. You could say we didn't really learn anything in that class. My homeroom teacher had it out for me because of the dress code. In high school, I had a love for beret hats. We had a uniform too, a lame one. There was a polo shirt or t-shirt option with a B on it. That came in different colors, including black, maroon, white, and gray. So beautiful. We could either wear black pants or khakis. Hats weren't allowed, but guess who wore their beret hat anyways? This girl, me. Every single day, my homeroom teacher would write me up and send me to the principal's office for wearing these hats that I didn't really consider much of a hat, to be honest. When I went down to the principal, she would always say to me, I approve of it. It's not really a hat, and it's cute. I don't care. So I would continue to wear them, yet she would continue to write me up every day for it. No matter how many times the principal would say I was okay to wear them. Pinkley, what did I say? I will continue to write these papers. And I will continue to wear them because I got approval, so make sure you stock up on those slips. She would get so mad. The one time she snatched the hat right off my head, threw it on the ground, and told me to throw it in the trash. I picked my hat up, blew on it, and stuck it back on my head. When she sent me to the principal after that, I told her what she did. Let's just say I wasn't written up anymore, nor did she look in my direction. These next stories aren't necessarily high school teachers. They are elementary school teachers, so I guess bonus stories. Let's call this next teacher Miss Floyd. In the 4th grade, we were getting into trickier math, and boy did I suck at math regardless, so I needed extra help. I had to go in for tutoring with my teacher in the mornings. No matter what, I just couldn't get fractions. She would get so angry with me. Why can't you get it? What are you, dumb or something? Math isn't that hard. You probably aren't even listening to me. Oh, but I was. I just honestly and truly didn't get it. I would start crying because I would get so frustrated with myself. Just face the facts. You are just stupid when it comes to math. She would get up in my face while I was crying, red face and all, screaming. I don't even know why you come in the mornings. You're never going to get it. Stop trying and stop wasting my dang time. She would smack the chalkboard over and over with a ruler when I would get answers wrong. She'd roll her eyes whenever I'd ask a question when I didn't understand. She just made me feel like a waste of space in her classroom. So I went and told my English/history teacher, Miss Zebra, let's call her Miss Zebra, about how she was treating me. Miss Zebra rolled her eyes at me and said, well, yeah, you are pretty dull when it comes to math. I stood there with my mouth open. I had no one on my side, and no matter how many times I complained about them, nothing was done, and I was brutally tormented by both teachers verbally for the rest of the year, even though the only thing I was bad at was math. I would get A's and everything else. You could say I lost all confidence in myself that year. This last one is nuts. We had a substitute gym teacher who looked like a Ken doll. He was just really short. He was with us for 3 weeks because my regular teacher was in surgery. He was all normal till one day he came in looking a bit under the weather. He looked tipsy. And this kid, let's call him Morty, really pushed his buttons. I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm nearly taller than you. I told you I don't want to play basketball, so I'm not gonna. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Mr. Ken's face was turning an even brighter red than it already was, went into his office and dragged out a bag of kickballs. He opened up the bag and proceeds to pelt the living daylights out of Morty with these kickballs. Everyone was shouting at him to stop. One of the students even ran out of the gym looking for a teacher, crying out for someone to help him. A teacher ran into the gym room, yanking Mr. Ken out. Morty laid on the ground, all banged up. Thankfully, he was just bruised, and he was okay. He covered his face with his hands the whole time. Mr. Ken, however, did get fired. But not because he abused the kid, but because he was a bit drunk. Gotta love the school district I was in. And those are my terrible teacher stories. Got one of your own? Leave it down below so I can read it and realize I wasn't the only one who went through mental trauma as well. Okay. If you like this story about my suffering, go ahead and leave me a like so I can pump out some more life-related stories. And don't forget to subscribe. It really helps my little channel out and gets me to produce more videos for you guys. I do still have some terrible teacher stories, so if you want a part 2 to this video, go ahead and give me a big like and let me know that down in the comments. And I'll get started on that for you guys as well in the future. But for now, I shall head on out and try to erase these traumas from my mind. Bye bye!